Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aline. I'm an investor at Lakestar, and Lakestar is a pan-European VC fund. We invest both early stage as well as growth stage. Might look agnostic from the outside, but are actually focused on 6 different thesis areas. And climate tech is one of these thesis areas, and I'm very happy to be here today with Joël. Joël, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what does Cleanhub do?
Yes, absolutely. Very pleased to be here. I think the too long didn't read is we found a scalable solution for plastic pollution, and the roots are actually not too far from here. I personally grew up at Lake Constance, so to Swiss people I always tell 20 kilometers on the wrong side of the border, but grew up sailing, spent a lot of my time outdoors, and at some point started surfing, and through surfing was exposed to plastic pollution. And after a short stint in the B2B SaaS game, I decided to focus my full time on plastic pollution. We learned that there's 2 billion people not connected to waste management, so we decided to build a scalable waste management platform with a quite ambitious target to prevent 50% of new ocean plastic by 2030. And the number one thing that we need to achieve is to enable waste management in coastal communities.
So you're actually connecting 2 parties or addressing 2 parties. On the one side, that's the consumer good brands who really look for solutions to tackle plastic waste. And on the other side, that's waste managers in pollution hotspots. Could you explain that a bit, the different interests and motivations?
Yes, absolutely. So on the one side, we have the consumer good brands that are under pressure, whose plastic end up in the oceans. And on the other side, we have massively underfunded waste management entrepreneurs in the global south, in India, Indonesia. And these are the areas where 80% of the plastic in the oceans comes from, right? So this is where we need to strengthen the waste sector. And there's quite a bridge to close between those that have the money and those that need the money. And we do that by building the digital infrastructure to have these 2 parties work together.
Why is now the right point in time to tackle or solve this problem? What's happening on the regulatory front, and what other tailwinds do you see?
Yeah, I think in general we see that the economy is waking up after a great party, basically, for the past almost more than 100 years. And we see what we did to the planet, and what we are now entering the purpose economy. So we need to make sure, how can we build a world that is fit for the next generation? And this pressure is driving a lot of the companies, but most importantly, it's also driving regulatory changes. So just last week, we had the first negotiation round in Uruguay for the UN Plastic Treaty, which many say is the same. There was Paris in the climate or in the carbon space. So plastic is going to be regulated more. We have the packaging initiatives coming up in Europe. We have companies that are setting their own pledges that they want to increase recycled content up to 30% until 2030. And I think all these points are also manifested in our own traction. I mean, since you invested, we 10x the company from an already 6-digit revenue base back then. So we see that there's real demand. We have more than 200 customers, and we're signing more and more every quarter. And even now, where everybody's talking about a down cycle, we're signing 6-digit deals. So the demand is there.
Can you describe a bit more the status quo? What does waste management in these coastal communities look like at the moment?
Yeah, what many people think waste management is recycling, but that's only part of the story. So a waste management company has 2 revenue streams. A, you have the trading unit where you focus on recyclable goods, like, for example, plastic bottles. And everybody wants these plastic bottles. There's massive demand for that. Most of those solutions out there in the market that say that they're sustainable focus actually on sourcing commodity. On the other side, we have a lot of residual waste that has 0 value, that cannot be recycled, and picking that waste up is actually a service, not a trading business. If you are operating in a country where people have $150 household income, nobody is really willing to put even just $2 on that service. So waste remains uncollected, people dump it in the environment, people dump it in the next river, or even worse, burn it under the open sky, which has a massive influence on climate change. So if that service is not happening, we see pollution, so we focus primarily on that specific service and also making sure that picking up residual waste is a working business model for local waste management companies.
Mm-hmm. So hearing about the status quo and what it looks like, maybe touching upon the digital aspect of your business, building a waste management infrastructure, what kind of parts does that entail, or how can you describe the product a bit more in detail?
Yeah. In my eyes, if you want to deliver value for the waste management space, your solutions has to do things. Either it gives waste itself a higher value, or it makes the entire process cheaper. We decided to focus on both. So the first thing that we do is giving waste value through our marketplace, where we enable brands from the global north that have money to interact with waste managers in the global south. And there is a trust issue, and we solve that trust issue by building track and trace technology so that local waste management companies can prove that they're actually collecting the waste, that we can back any kind of claim that a consumer brand wants to make, which is becoming ever more important because there's so much scrutiny on any kind of sustainability claims, and we have the data to back them up. We have all the evidence there, and this is the first part of what we do. In the future, by securing that access to resources, because this is what waste is becoming more and more, we are in a position to build a marketplace on top of that. We are in a position to source all kinds of resources from waste for the circular supply chains of tomorrow.
And then also, as you're, I think, active in markets that most of the companies who pitched here are not active in, how is your solution scalable? How does that work? And are there also any indicators already in terms of scalability achieved?
Yeah, I mean, we're a team of 20 people, and yet we're active on 3 continents, and that's just our operations. We have customers in basically all continents except Antarctica. And the way how we do that is we don't build a waste management company, a waste collection ourselves, but we find the local entrepreneurs who know the cultural boundaries of their operations best, who know how to collect waste, how to approach the households, how can we get this system up and running, and we provide them with the tools to do exactly that. We aggregate all collectors on one platform, and we make sure that the distribution is taken care of. We make sure that the cash flows are taken care of. We make sure that the entire infrastructure around them works so that they can really build a company. So today we collect more than 2,000 tons of especially non-recyclable plastic a year. And this is by far not the capacity limit. We could, from one day to another, go up to 50,000 tons because waste management itself is no rocket science, and I don't think that I'm hurting anyone in the industry with that. But it's really about having access to the right markets. And this is where we come in as a platform play. This is where it becomes scalable.
Then last question from my side, what's your vision for Cleanhub? Where do you want to be 5 years from now?
Yeah. I think we see in the carbon market how much power voluntary commitments have. And analog to the carbon credit market, we want to become the leading provider of plastic credits and leading in a way that is tech-enabled, that we have full transparency about what's going on, that we learn from what the carbon market also maybe in some areas missed, and that is additionality, that is this transparency. So this is the one thing that we're working on, but certificates are really just the beginning of the entire journey that we have ahead of us with Cleanhub. We really want to focus on sourcing raw materials, on helping to decarbonize supply chains by making sure that we don't have to dig up new resources from the ground, but that they can actually be sourced from our waste bins. And that's the vision for Cleanhub.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Aline. Thank you, Zurich.